take it saved my life. Because of it, I managed to go from being an empty people pleaser to a resilient, independent person with personality. This is the story of Fictitious Star Master. Slap in because this video isn't gonna be pretty. On December 10th, 2001, a weird baby girl was born. This is me, Megan, but you can call me either Fictitious Star Master, or FitSM. Like every newborn, I was brought into this amazing world with glee. But little did I know that this world wasn't be nice to me, or so I thought. Around 5 years old, I started to realize that I'm not white. I was told that certain things were white and others were not. Like, you should always be happy, be too honest and considerate, and you should never interrupt someone speaking. I always get belong to any rules, but here's the thing. I'm not that good when it comes to social skills. Whenever I made art, I like to sell it out to my family, but I never know how to properly express it, and therefore never got the chance ever again. Whenever I express my needs, it's always gonna be straightforward. No, it is just exactly what I said, but apparently that's considered to be rude, which is something I simply don't get. It also doesn't help that I may have a speech impediment, so my words are bound to get misinterpreted in the worst way possible. Like, if I curse, because I swear I can copy and communicate to other people in the nicest way possible. I'm not being rude to you. I just wanted to express my needs. That's it. The worst part of all this miscommunications is the fact that I'm human. Humans are social creatures after all. If there's no proper communication around, then their mental health will worsen over time. So like everyone, I wanted to connect with people. But apparently since I curse, it's just ain't gonna happen. Every time a miscommunication happens, I started to lose hope in myself. What's the point of living if I can't get someone to trust me? At the surface, the miscommunications that I have weren't much of a big deal. However, this gets worse when it comes to parenting. So, I was raised in an American and Filipino family. And if you know anything about Asian families, they're super sweet at what they're telling and can't do. And the ways they can punish you are straight up awful. They can compete and validate your feelings and gaslight you. They can threaten you to be nice, or they can straight up spank you. Whether this is due to generational trauma or a cultural difference is behind me. But you can imagine what this has done to my mental health. Add miscommunications into account, and you will have the perfect recipe for disaster. After years of torture, I straight up decided that nobody likes me. I couldn't get anyone to understand me correctly, and I became terrified of my parents. If I ever got to avoid any more punishments, I had to directly follow their rules. No excessives. This meant that I had to hide my flaws to appear to be likable. Every time I felt a negative emotion, I deny it and pretend to be happy. I try to get good grades and attendance because I know that my parents are happy with my intelligence. And at this point, I stopped trying to make friends because I know that it's a waste of time. This seems like the perfect idea. Everyone's going to like me. But it ain't. First, it ended up increasing the chance of me having a complete meltdown, which was often misinterpreted as a temper tantrum. Second, it used up all my energy that I can't use for my honey system. And the worst part of all, it already caused the loss of both my mental health and my identity as a whole. I won, but at what cost? For a couple of years, I continued to fight over people in expense of myself. That was until 2012. In March 2012, my father passed away from an unknown heart attack. Yes, I know, because he never bothered to tell his wife beforehand. That sounds familiar. When I heard the news, I completely lost it. I was so upset that I barely ever talked to anyone outside my family for an entire year. But despite this, I still continue to please others. I get to cope. Losing a parent is bad enough, but losing your favorite is much worse. However, with every bad situation, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I have always been watching my favorite shows since I was little. Until I discovered the internet, TV was my only escape from reality. So any anime show that wasn't realistic was a favorite in my opinion. SpongeBob is a show that is all about talking underwater creatures. Gumball is a show with a variety of characters and art styles. Layer Show, while it states that it's layered, it's not. It's a show that ain't the captain, but layer. The wider the premise, the more likely that is a favorite of mine. So, in summer 2012, I was watching the new season of a certain animated contest show. There were new characters, but the one that stands out for me the most is this male contestant was all kind of best character. Now, you may be asking, what makes this boring person so special that you have to call it best character? Well, it's the fact that, like me, he also had mental disorder too. And like me, he also tries to hide it because he wishes that no one would judge him, but he also does it like have a second condition. This was the first time I could relate to a cartoon character on such a personal level. Even if I didn't fully understand it the first time, I had to sympathize with him. Nobody said to put through such trauma because they're different, even animated ones. What also helps is the silly way that best characters this art was portrayed. And you already know that I do like silly stuff more than realistic ones. Yeah, it's not the best level of the season, but what else could the writers have done to make it understandable and relatable for kids? Say it tell me! Finally, there is someone who understands my pain. Maybe, sis, maybe, this was worth it after all. Ah! Oh yeah, that crap happened. Just as I thought that my best cartoon calendar of all time could save my life, the writers completely messed it up in the following year. Not only did they end up using harmful stereotypes of poor people, but they also killed best characters that's already in the progress. So who can I trust now? I cannot trust Swayzers because they would misunderstand me. I cannot trust my mother because he kept on punishing me. And now I cannot even trust my favorite shows! My test of being my true self again has gotten away within a single year. Well, thanks a lot! So, as the years went on, I was constantly on the ends. My old feelings and emotions just wanted to come out, but I can't because it's only going to make this worse. I still wasn't able to properly communicate with other people, even online. And if I ever disobeyed my mother's rules, I would get punished for it. I did make some nice YouTube videos on my old channel, but both the consistent quality and motivation was always flip-flopping between good and bad, made worse by the fact that my actual tone of voice can't be heard within those videos. You could tell that I was upset, but I still tried to be nice and count one.
Okay, our first step is to clear up the bathroom. Bubbles? I thought they are right, so we could get crazy party, so I could go my place.
Some of my feelings can also be seen in my whole drawings between 2014 and 2017, especially at the beginning. Ever wonder why my old creations were so dark and antsy? It was because my self-esteem had completely worsened at the time. I wasn't trying to get attention. I just wanted to share my art online. but my feelings did spill out in the progress. However, this is just the tip of the iceberg of my mental health struggles, as these are about to get even worse. In April 2018, a gumball scene that I made back in 2013 resurfaced online. This was because the SL had saw it off in the Recipient, granted in a different name. When I heard this, I was so excited that my old creation was acknowledged in an SL TV show. So of course, I made YouTube video on it. And oh boy, I did not expect that video to go viral. Within a week, that video quickly became my most viewed video on my old channel and gained almost 1,300 subscribers. Finally, I got knowledge for something I get at, rather than faking it. This was the best day of my life. But it turns out that this wasn't exactly what I hoped for. While having a ton of views was nice, it ended up hurting me in the long term. Now I was only known for being the creator of a diary cutter, not anything else. Nobody cared for Alienverse nor my old series. They just wanted to watch gumball videos. What I do want to sell, I didn't want to force swiftly on them. After all, I wanted to create stuff that I enjoy, but I had to keep people happy but deliver what they wanted. I guess history does repeat itself after all. And evidence this falls apart once the 90s were off. My old channel has lost views and subscribers, and I wasn't handling it well. It could bio made my mental health worse. Then my reactions to the majority appearing later in 2018 was the final nail in it. Earlier, I mentioned that my favorite shows were a way that I can stay reality. Well, by 2018, those shows basically became just as important as my family. So now, every time someone talks badly about them, I would become furious. This would be similar to a breakup or a heated argument. But instead of IRL people, it would be my favorite dish. Gumball is the worst show that I ever seen. You better take that back because it is a good show. Nobody cares. You can already tell that my life is so deluded that I consider my favorite dish as SL people. This was a breaking point when YouTube like 2018 came out. I was probably the only person who actually enjoyed that video, but others consider it as quiz-worthy, so much that We Like 2018 became the most disliked YouTube video at that time, and you cannot imagine how much I felt about it. I was so furious that I even went out of my way to make propaganda content and make brilliant tweets for people to change their opinions. However, I ended up realizing that I had violated my own morals. As stated to before, I would never try to hurt other people's feelings for whatever reason. And here, I have broken that by basically trying to gaslight them over a simple YouTube video. I have become the villain, the one who invalidates others' feelings. And the moment that I realized that, I had a mental breakdown. Every emotion that had been brought up in the past decade has burst out. I was feeling sadness, anger, fear, and hopelessness all at the same time. Any skills that I used to defend myself has gone away, as I don't have enough energy to do that anymore. But what I did instead was attack my mother. Granted, the closest thing that I did was hurt her against her will, but it's still bad. This was so bad to the point that I even tried to commit suicide rather than having to live with my poor mental state. I was happy with the world not being nice to me. But there is hope after all. Despite my worsening mental state, I managed to deliver my dreaded post to my mother before it was too late. My mother, who's this entire time was trying to punish me, finally notices my mental health problems. I was hiding my true feelings for her to avoid any more punishments. But now I learned that it's an unhealthy coping mechanism. Regardless, my mother finally listened to me and try her best to prevent me from being biased towards anyone. Eventually, my meltdown has been restarted and my bias was over. And all that thinking was using my parents' skills against her. Who knew that 20 others can wear in the right circumstances? I thought it was always banned. However, despite the happy ending, I cannot help but feel that something's still missing. With my mental health restart, I went back to doing my favorite dish. This time with no more Puzmas. I went back to making YouTube videos, bought by my own series, and even went outside to relax. Everything was starting to get better for me. Until 2020 happened. Lockdowns happened and I had to stay inside. However, this twisted ban has shown me that I wasn't fully healed yet. Despite having everything that I wanted, I still feel empty inside. And I don't know why. Why am I missing something? At the end of 2020, I finally figured it out. The reason for my emptiness was due to the loss of my own identity. Thanks to all the trauma that I endured, I have never gotten the chance to become independent and be my own person. Now I'm even more left out than I was before. I basically became the cell of my former self in the progress. However, there's a part of me that believes that I could get my personality back, especially since I'm no longer getting punished for it, nor pressured to fit in. And they were right. Earlier, I mentioned how I was basically cursed because my communication doesn't up to people's expectations. Well, it turns out that I was diagnosed with autism as soon as I was born. However, despite people telling me that I have it, I didn't know exactly what the condition was. Is it bad? Am I due to miscommunications? At what point I even thought it was an insult to my speech? So in April 2021, I decided to bite the bullet and search it on myself. I did try Googling it, but there's nothing special. All it says is that autism is a defect of communication and social skills. While that is correct, the link is right here didn't help my case. So I turned to social media, and you cannot believe how surprised I was at the information. Every personality trait that I would discover connects to autism in one way or another. My loyalty to the rules was up to me being routine-oriented and I was power recognition. Being playful was up to stimulate and potentially my special interests. And being courageous and imaginative was up to me being in my own world most of the time. So while my upbringing didn't give me a chance of growth, my attitude was there this entire time. Am I ever going to feel my adaptive self again? Then I have to accept my autistic self too. And it worked. I started to feel happy or my own courageous again because it's what I wanted, not what others told me to. I just started to become an independent person. Sorry I could have done that earlier, but it's better late than never. Now I went and ended the story there. However, I recently realized that having a disability isn't a superpower, as being autistic also has its problems too. While having slow progressive speed or taking metaphors too literally. Let me tell you that either that isn't fun at all. I'm so happy that I can eat a hearse. Really? You can eat a hearse? No, it's just starving to death. Oh, so really being autistic or having a disability isn't a bad thing, but it isn't good either. However, it is important to know about both the ways and subtleties about it. If people only know about just one of those two things, then it ain't gonna be beneficial to the person who has said disability. You heard what happened to me when my needs weren't to be properly met? People thought I was smart enough to handle my struggles by myself, but I didn't. And vice versa for me, I thought that nobody wanted to see me or my struggles because autism was seen as a bad thing, when in reality, I was just overthinking at the worst case scenarios possible. If someone or something is considered to be bad, Then what's really wrong with that? Because the last thing that I ever wanted to do again is to invalidate other people's feelings or even personalities if they truly feel that way. So in reality, I was morally and feel more comfortable that I found good information about autism that believed that the condition was just a gifted to him. I am a smart, creative, friendly, and playful person. And an emotionally inspired, handed, and slow person. And that's okay. So, where am I today? Well, after healing my mental health and redeciding my true self, I noticed that I didn't have time my favorite things with people anymore. Okay, I still hate stuff with them, but I ain't taking steps to learn that, I swear. This point had also led me to go back to Beth's calendar, since I basically abandoned him since the 2013 incident. Despite everything that went on, I actually never lose faith in him. He's actually the first person that I did fall I hate because his disability wasn't portrayed properly. Since it wasn't actually harvested disabled people, I was able to let the injuries aside without any judgment. Guess I actually did learn not to debug a lot earlier. But knowing me, it did take me a whole decade to progress now. Well, I know now! Also, my YouTube videos have since been restored to their highest quality ever. However, I ended up creating this new channel because I learned the hard way that I shouldn't be pressured to teach views that get an addicted audience. Well, at least I still learned to be a good content creator. All in all, this video is something that even at my worst, I still managed to be confident in both myself and my own abilities.